In today's episode, we're going to get started with making some Nobelisks for our boom booms. We're going to make them all except for one. Welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory, my fellow friends. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. I'm having a great one myself. In the last episode, we made ourselves a large wet concrete facility. We then trained over the concrete to our main steel factory, whereby we are making industrial encased beams from our steel. And in today's episode, we're going to get started on making our weapons factory. We're going to be bringing in a whole bunch of material to make a whole bunch of boom booms. And it's going to be based off of this cliff right to our right. So first things we need to do is we're going to need to bring some resources over to our base. That includes some oil and some sulfur and coal to get some black powder. Then we're going to turn the black powder with steel pipes. That's another thing we're going to need. That's why we need the coal. We need coal and iron to make steel. Then we're going to make some Nobelisks. We're then going to take the Nobelisks and combine them with biomass to create a gas Nobelisk. We're also going to combine Nobelisks with smokeless powder, thus the oil, to make cluster Nobelisks. And then we're going to also combine Nobelisks with crystal oscillators to make pulse Nobelisks. Now, we're not going to do this in this episode because it's going to take advantage of drones. We're actually going to get into drones in a future episode, probably the one after Fixmas, which is our next one up. And if you stick by, here's a quick ad for next week's episode. In next week's episode, Fixmas has arrived. We're going to get started on building this epic Fixmas factory. And as I was saying, the episode after Fixmas will involve most likely drones, and then we can finish off our weapons factory. So let's get on with it. All right, let's go over the starter part of this factory now. So we're going to require 45 iron, 45 coal, and that will produce 45 steel ingots per minute. We're then going to use those to make pipes, 30 a minute. We're going to combine those with coal and sulfur, which is going to make some black powder in this assembler, which is going to make the Nobelisks. Now, we're going to kind of backtrack from here, this 30 and 30. We're going to work our way backwards, and we'll have maybe 2 of these and 2 of these, et cetera, et cetera. We're definitely going to be producing 30 Nobelisks per minute, though, so that we can maximize, or not maximize, but we can have a reasonably efficient factory. And if we look back towards where our factory is going to be, we're running a main bus line through the forest here to collect a few resources. On this side, we've got ourselves a normal sulfur node, which is overclocked to 600 a minute. We're then going to grab all of this, and we're just going to build out a little bit of a kind of like a beltway out here. So we grab this and we bring it up like so, and then we're just going to line it up onto here, and then we will essentially run it down the main line here. And this will form something like, we're not going to need all of this sulfur for this particular factory, so it means that we can also move it elsewhere if we need to. And we're planning to put in a train facility inside or nearby this building, so that way we can also ship it off elsewhere. Now, if we look at the map right here, we're close to a bunch of resources, including iron, I believe right over here. So we're probably going to use one of these iron nodes, and then we're going to tap into the coal that's directly above where we're building over here. So we look in close. We have the coal we're using for our aluminum factory. Well, we're basically going to tap that off and bring it down. Again, because once the Nobelisks fill up, we're not going to need the demand. We're not going to require these resources anymore. So we're going to use them for other things. We're also going to tap off the oil that's right here. And I think that's going to be about it. We might bring in some copper later on, possibly, if we need to. But basically, the gist of it is this busway is going to kind of go through here. It's going to go up around here and then over. And so that way we can collect all of these nodes if we need to. All right. So as you can see, we've brought in our sulfur now. We've also attached our iron, which we need for the pipes. We're bringing down coal from above as planned. Or then we've got 2 of the foundries making 90 steel ingots per minute. Those are then feeding directly into steel pipes, 1 to 1. And then we're just kind of scooching the steel pipes around this assembler, which was the assembler making the black powder. We've just overclocked it to 60 a minute. So it's nice and compact, very simple, very tight. And then those feed and split off into these assemblers, which are then making the Nobelisks. And we could have probably just had one overclocked, but you know, it looks nice. A little bit of symmetry. Well, they are overclocked, but you see what I mean? I like a little bit of symmetry. It's kind of neat. And then we're feeding these into storage here, which kind of gives us a nice big buffer. And as you can see, they kind of go in and then they wrap around and come up. And then from here, as we make these, we're gonna now bring those up to the next floor where we're gonna make the rest of the different styles of Nobelisks. And then down here, you can see we're getting ready for the oil production. We're just kind of messing around a little bit, trying to see, I can't fly because we lost our power lines. Down here, we're getting ready to make, or we're just looking at the recipes for the clusters where we need the smokeless powder. And I think we're just going to make the smokeless powder in here, which means we also are going to need to tap off and make some more black powder and combine it with the heavy oil residue to make this one. So, and then that will just be fed up to the upper floors. Next up, we are setting up the next floor of our bomb factory. And if you look at it, basically I'm using leaves right now, but the best recipe, if we were to look at biomass, is to actually convert, yeah, right here. I think the alien protein, like converting alien protein into whatever these things are, open in codex. I always forget what they're called. I'm pushing all the buttons and I can't do it. Push the button, right button, the right button. If we look at this thing, alien protein, this yields an incredible amount of biomass. So if my recommendation is simply to go get some hog juice, some hog bits, if you will, grab a crafting bench, or actually put an assembler down. Honestly, it's a better way to do it. Make this, and if you check out, if we make some of this hatcher protein as an example, it turns into, we go down here, biomass, 200 biomass per, or 100 biomass per ones of these. And then I don't know whether if the splitter protein is worth more or not, but let's go ahead and do that. But a few of the splitter pitter, looks like it's still 100 each, yeah. So no matter what, it's 100 each. So this is a lot easier to make and it yields a lot more protein, or a lot more biomass. And you can put that into an assembler. So you can basically take the, if we were to just lay down an assembler, or a constructor, sorry, if we lay down a constructor and we go down to the biomass section right here, you'll see alien protein. So you can just feed that in from a storage facility and out it goes, and you get an absolute ton, more than this can use, which we're only needing, you know, a handful per minute. So there you go. So essentially use this constructor, convert this recipe to this recipe here, and it can feed your Boomba factory, which you need 50 a minute and 5 Nobelisk a minute to make a bunch of gas ones. So that's essentially what this floor is. We're bringing it up and we're converting it into all the things we need. As you can see, we were making smokeless powder. We're going to drop down there in a second. And we're not going to make the stun Nobelisks yet, just because that involves other technique. So down here, we've kind of temporarily laid this out. We got to clean it up a little bit. But we've tapped off coal and sulfur to make ourselves some more black powder, which is then being fed directly into the refinery and combined with heavy oil residue. So to make the heavy oil residue, all we're doing is we're bringing in a little bit of crude, and then we're producing the polymer resin, which we're just sinking, which is kind of the normal thing you do, because I don't know if resin is ever used for anything. I don't know if anybody ever uses it, but I'm sure somebody does out there in the world of Satisfactory. And we finished off the factory. It's nice and simple and tight. It's going to meet all of our needs. We did a little bit of decoration, left some room on the top for the aerodrome, I guess, if you will, for the drones. And you can see we have trains running through now, which is great. This allows us for future expansion. And with that in mind, there's only one thing left to do. Make sure you bang on the like button down below, crash that subscribe button, and leave some comments down below. My name is Boom, and I'm out.